war on the real, baby, look outside. A war on the real, baby, look out. Cause it's a war on the real, baby, look outside. A war on the real, baby, look out. Cause it's a war on the real, baby, look outside. A war on the real, baby, look out. Cause it's a war on the real, baby, look outside. A war on the real, baby, look out. Can't be a real, might get you canceled. The whole system need to dismantle. Coppers treated like the utmost wanted. Tryna rule the block but don't know what goes on it. News got a story with a new take on me. Carrying out the window with the screw face on me. But I know that God love me when my burn 95 degrees and I can't get sunburn. Wonder when your government don't make me legal. Burn the whole city if I can't be equal. Get off my please, Brad, I earned that. 400 years, how you still ain't learned that? I take pack to the lung, kill the stress to the head. I'm tryna do more for the soul, way less for the bread. Yes, sir. I take pack to the lung, kill the stress to the head.
We apologize for being so late and having to push the show back from the scheduled time. Bottom line is that we were food shopping and the time went on and we looked out and realized it was rush hour traffic. So I'm here. We slid into home base and we're here and we have an in-depth presentation today. And I want you to take your time and get everything out because we don't want anybody to say that they weren't presented with this information. And I truly appreciate you for who you are, what you do. And for some reason, it seemed like the week went by so fast. Yeah. Because just like we were here today, but I don't complain because we get to eat a meal at the table of Brother Neil Frazier, and it's a meal full of wisdom, right? This world is nasty. You know, people have become not seekers of knowledge, but like mosquitoes trying to suck your blood. When you build up something and take your time, you gotta slide in and get the benefit of it, but not put the work in, or not even risk. So we have to be leery of what we build. We have to be leery of what we do. And you, my friend, is somebody that I will always try to add on to and not take away from. Thank you. Thank you so much. Come on in, brother. Talk to us.
Well, thank you. Thank you, Brother Lance. I know I got your message. I know you're a busy guy, man. And so, you know, it's all good. One thing I like about you is that, you know, you communicate in the proper time space. Like a lot of people, 2 minutes before something happened, they'll shoot you something. And, hey, man, this is what's going on. I'm like, really? So I really appreciate that, brother. I know you're busy. And, yeah, correct. You are correct. This presentation that I really feel strongly about. Actually, I was motivated from the dialogue that you had with some of the family with the 2 shows that you did concerning demons. And that night, when I listened to it, I just began to go into a trance. I said, yeah, this is good. Because a lot of times, and this is the way we have been trained in this wicked system, that when we express our emotions, because that's who we are, then it turns into some kind of argumented battle. That's not the purpose. And this is what I love about you. You don't judge people. You know, a lot of our people have been taught with this dogmatic religion to judge people. But after today, we won't have that same issue because I had to go. Now, you know, in the 3 years I've known you, I've never used anything. But this is so important because when you're battling these entities at this level of spiritual warfare, they're going to fact check everything you do. And although I know this knowledge, this is not about me being able to show how much I know. This is about our people getting the truth, okay? And for us to take our time and to break down all of the things that have held our people captive spiritually, mentally, and physically. So I'm going to, if you're ready to begin, I'm ready to begin.
Yes, because we have a long one tonight, so we want you to really put it down. And if you ever need a break, let me know. I'm here.
Okay. Okay.
On the couch. So the floor is yours. I'm going to scroll down contact information and information to support your efforts on the bottom right here.
Okay.
And like
so the picture that I sent you, were you able to include it in the presentation?
No, I wasn't, but I'm going to download it and be able to upload it on the show right now. I want to put it in the actual banner, but that would take a moment or two to get it from the phone, to get it to. So I'm going to get those things and put them up. So that's not a problem.
Okay, great. Okay. Well, first of all, I want to thank Brother Lance again for his unwavering support, and also, you know, the work that he and Mrs. Scurv put in to make sure that we continue to get good, solid information, so that we can continue to be able to not only be on the defensive side of this wickedness towards us and our children, but to also now go on the offensive. Because when you recognize that everything that you know in the Western Hemisphere is a result of the origins of our ancestors, then it's easier to understand and comprehend why you are under attack daily. So as I said, I was motivated by Lance and the family. You had a spirited talk on religion. And as a think tank, this is something that we must engage each other over. So this presentation is in 3 parts. First, we're going to start with the biblical text and the warnings against adultery and worshiping false gods. Secondly, we're gonna deal with the original African concepts, which many of our people don't recognize that in our creation story, Ptah. This is where is the creator, and he created everything by speaking out the word. And this is where they get this concept about, you know, in the beginning was the word, and the word. All of this comes from you, and we'll show you today where this originated from, how it came down through the ages, and how we find ourselves in this situation now. The good thing is the Creatrix has opened a vortex now for those of us, not all of us, again, but those of us who have the courage to look into what we're fighting and to say, no, we will not surrender. The last part of the presentation, we will deal with European rule, the corruption of divine natural laws, and how Black people, and again, Black is just a descriptive term, which connotes our culture, our cultural consciousness. It identifies that. And also in many lands throughout antiquity, this word was used, but we know it's just a descriptive word, because in the actual construction of the Constitution of the United States, yes, it is true. I think I read a comment in one of the videos that I did. The Queen was correct that in this system, when you're talking about legalese, then Black is not included. And that's because of the deception when they tried to change the identity of our people down through the centuries. But just like when you go to court, why you need a lawyer, unless you study law, European law, because that's what it's based on, because the legalese will trip you up every time, and it's intended to do that. So we'll talk about how Black people went from worshiping the real creator of the universe, okay, to these false gods and idol worshipers. And I'm going to use biblical text because, unfortunately, or however you want to look at it, if certain information is not presented, particularly biblical information, directly from the Bible, then our people turn a deaf ear to that, and it's a reason for that. So let's go into the script. And I'm not a preacher. I'm not trying to preach to anyone. In fact, I'm going to show you today that those people who call themselves that have taken an oath to serve these gods, and I'm going to prove to you how that's done. But before we get into the text, remember this, that our ancestors, when they constructed the Medu Neter from observation, okay, there was always a esoteric or hidden knowledge, and then there was an exoteric, okay, or revealed knowledge. Okay, and that's very important to understand right now, because the way you're trained in religion is through exoteric knowledge. So that takes away the law of correspondence, as within, so without. It immediately severs you from source energy, because you're reading something and you're looking at it as you are taught deceptively as being a literal truth, and it's not. The other thing is the difference between concepts, where language comes from, and narratives. So again, the way that you're taught in religion, you're taught a narrative, and the definition of a narrative is a story. And we know who wrote these stories. But in our ancestral memory bank, in our genetic memory bank, we have these concepts that were taught to us by our ancestors that we have turned a blind eye to. And the worst part about that is our children have no concept of this. So let's start out with the warnings against adultery, which is in the Old Testament. I have a couple of New Testament scriptures, but only to support the Old Testament, because the New Testament was written in Greek, and we know what that's about. Deuteronomy 32:16. They stirred him to jealousy with strange gods. They provoked him to anger with abominations. Now, whatever your concept of jealousy and anger is, then you think of it in this sense of betrayal of the Creator. And although I don't agree with the type of language that's used, it's good that it describes your behavior and how it's interpreted by the Creator. And that's the point. Remember, we're dealing with conceptual knowledge, not narrative knowledge, which our people have been taught and continue to be taught by these people they call preachers or pastors. And you know, this is where my anger comes from when it comes to our people. You know, a lot of these individuals who have made these covenants with these false gods, they know this. They know the truth. They may not know the in-depth story, but they know that they are perpetrating a fraud. Okay, so let's go to Genesis 35:2. And Jacob said to his household and to all who were with him, put away the foreign gods that are among you. Purify yourselves and change your garments. Now, again, we have to look at esoteric or hidden knowledge, which our people, this was the foundation of conceptual knowledge for our people, esoteric or hidden knowledge. The revealed came as a result of the hidden. So when you talk about purifying, you're talking about the neter of fire, okay? And you're talking about burning everything up that doesn't stand on the Mayan laws of truth, justice, righteousness, balance, and all of the things that is rooted in our chakras that we have now thrown away. When the referral to change your garments, that's a referral to the fact that you need to change the way that you're looking at things. If you change the way you look at things, the things you look at change. Okay. And the only way you can change your spiritual garments is to have a metamorphosis and to be able to move from lower consciousness to higher consciousness. Now let's look at one of the scriptures that I chose from the New Testament because it deals with the Romans. And that's an important part of our presentation today. Do not conform to this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind. Okay, so when we look at conform, that means that you are complying with the rules, the standards, and the laws of something. Okay, and clearly it says do not conform. Okay, because once you do this, again, you put a spiritual principle into motion. This is why they separate you from the principles, or which they interpreted as the commandments, which comes from the 42 negative confessions of Mayat. The big difference there is in the terminology. With our people, because we practice truth, justice, and righteousness, we always said, I have not. This is not in my nature. This is not a part of my behavior. And I have not. We live according to Mayan law. But in the 10 Commandments, it's a very technology, or the way that they use this terminology. I shall not. So that's saying, so that's giving you a way out. That's saying that if you decide to do something that you know is wrong, then you go and repent for what they call sins. That is not a part of our conceptual makeup in terms of how we worship the real creator. Deuteronomy 7:2. Okay, now this talks about the manifestation of who they are to you. And when the Lord thy God shall deliver them before you, okay, in other words, he's going to manifest the truth of who these people are to you, okay, then you shall smite them, okay, and that means that you should try to destroy that psychologically, in any kind of way. Spiritually, it comes at you. If it comes at you physically, then you know what to do, okay. But clearly, the creator and the people that interpreted it correctly knew this, that this is you, that this is referring to. You just don't know this. This comes from your text. Okay, so it says, Romans 12:2 says, do not conform to this world. Okay, I'm sorry. Deuteronomy 7:2 says, and when the Lord thy God shall deliver thee before you, you shall smite them and make no covenant with them, neither marry them. Now, when you look at this word covenant, in the last video, I told you guys how I sweated bullets over the fact that I would have to decide between getting $25,000 as a 501(c) and making a covenant through their charters with these false gods, or to be a real netter. And I don't like the word struggle, but the reality is that's what it is, that I have to rely on my people to build the Academy of Netter for us and our children. And that was a very difficult decision. To this day, it's still a difficult decision. I don't know how many of you have walked away from money when people have told you that, you know, and I also knew that I could get it. But But it was also a bridge that I crossed, because they play games with these false this false money that they use to manipulate us. And I'm going to talk about that a little later when we go into African history. But clearly, it's saying that we should make no covenant with them. The 501c3 charter is a covenant with false gods, okay, that right then you are going to have to worship. And I don't know how many of you have read the charter of a 501c3, but it takes away all of it. I could not, if I had become a 501c3 instead of an LLC, I could not present this kind of information to you. I could not teach you truth. And this is the position that the pastors and preachers have put themselves in for silver and gold. And the last part of this scripture says, don't even neither marry them. Now, I don't know how you interpret that, but that's pretty clear and cut to me. That when you marry into a culture that is diametrically opposed to the creative creatrix system, then you have made a choice, okay, to make a covenant with them. And I want to be very clear about that, because our people, you know, are very loving people. And when they're worshiping, you know, but they don't have the understanding and the comprehension of what's going on. Okay. And this is where these spells come from. And Lance, you talk about these spells all the time. Judges 2:2, cooperating with evil. And ye shall make no league with the inhabitants of this land. So when you think about a league, you think about a group, okay, or a gang, or however you want to look at it. But it's you're in league with these evil spirits that you guys were talking about. You know, some people refer to them as demons. You can call them whatever you want, but the concept is still the same. That when you are in league with evil spirits, then you are diametrically opposed to the Creator, whether you recognize that or not, okay? And I remember one time a judge told me, and I was very young, ignorance of the law does not excuse you from the penalty of the law. And this is the same thing with the Creator. Because you are ignorant of this and following false gods, that doesn't change the natural karma and retribution that's built into the Creator's principles. And that's very important. The other part of Judges 2:2 says, ye shall throw down their altars. Okay. So I believe you have a story in the New Testament where Jesus went into the temple. And to me, these stories are just metaphors, but you can take it however you want. The point is, and the conceptual point is, that when he went into that temple and saw them exchanging money, which has nothing to do with the Creator of the universe, then he basically destroyed that temple, that unholy temple. But then the question is, ye shall throw down their altars, but ye have not obeyed my voice. Why have you done this? I asked the same question. Why have you done this? You have not obeyed the voice of the Creator, but you have been told that you have obeyed his voice. Every time you go to church, okay, and get caught up into your emotions, which has nothing to do with the Spirit, then you are told that this is what you're doing. Let's stay in the book of Judges, okay? The divine netaru and the retribution and that comes as a a result of you separating yourself from the creator creatrix spirit and worshiping materialism. So this is what the creator says to you. And this is what's happening to a lot of you now. Go and, Judges 10 and 14. Go and cry unto the gods which ye have chosen. You, as I said, once you are aware of something, it's no longer a mistake, it's a conscious decision. And when you make conscious decisions, then it is weighed on the justice scale of Mayat, your heart against the feather of Mayat. And you must understand these conceptual principles, because this is at the root of a lot of the issues that we are facing as a people, because someone has given you a narrative of your own original conceptions that you observed in nature. Go and cry unto the gods which ye have chosen. Let them deliver you in your time, in the time of your tribulation. So you see, the people that you have given everything and given our children's future to care nothing about you, okay? Because they know who you are. And I'm going to prove to you today that they know who you are. The problem I'm having is, okay, it's okay for you to stay in a fog, okay? But don't do this to our children, okay? Don't do this to them. Give them, present the truth to them, because you're already under judgment. Okay, right here in Judges 10:14, go and cry unto the gods, the false gods, which ye have chosen, and let them deliver you in the time of your tribulation. You have done this. These 501c3 institutions in our communities that has made a covenant with these people have done this. But you continue to go to their altars when the Creator said, tear their altars down. But you have not done this. And why have you not listened, hearkened to my voice? And here's one of the ones, my favorite, that's very powerful. I remember, I remember experience I had with this scripture that I had to deal with somebody when I was young, and you know, I grew up in this religion. My father, Bishop Frazier, they believed in this, okay. But then when I began to challenge them with this scripture, not my father, because I could never challenge my father, but I'm talking about these people that call themselves pastors that have made covenants with these false gods. I remember that they could give me no answer to this scripture. Deuteronomy 28:64. And the Lord shall scatter thee among all people, from one end of the earth even unto the other. And there you shall serve other gods. And this was a prophecy, okay? And here's the most important part of this. And there you shall serve other gods which you nor your fathers have known. Now they're talking about our ancestors in Kemet, that they did not know these false gods prior to these people invading our lands and bringing these false gods to our lands. Because remember, everything that we did in terms of our worship to the Creator was done through nature, okay, which is the true concept of the creator creatrix spirit, the Neteru. And here's the last part of this scripture that's so important that you need to heed to today. And there you shall serve other gods which you nor your fathers have known, even wood and stone. And what is this wood and stone that's being referred to? Well, the old churches were built by wood, but the new churches, these mega churches, which is dedicated to these false gods, are built in stone. Okay. Let's go to the deception of idol worship and materialism. Isaiah 46 and 56. To whom will you liken me, since you are worshiping these false gods and going in their houses and kneeling down at their altars? To whom shall you liken unto me and make me equal and compare me to them? They lavish gold, okay, and weigh silver. And they lavish gold and weigh silver in the balance. Instead of using the Me'atan law, okay, which is truth, justice, balance, and righteousness, they weigh everything you do through this paper money that you worship so much over your brothers and sisters that you won't even help them fight against these beasts. Okay. It says that, and you also hire a goldsmith, and he maketh it a god. Then you fall down and worship them. So when they present these material gods to you, okay, and you hire them to help you in whatever it is you're trying to accomplish, your purpose, you're going to have to worship them first. Because like Brother Lance knows very well, and like I know, when you deal with these false gods and you don't bow down to them, then they cut you off. Okay? They cut you off. Okay, last three scriptures here before we get into the lesson. Warnings against adultery. Exodus 23, 32, and 33. Thou shalt make no covenant. Again, the 501c3. The charter that you make and the covenant you make with these false gods. Okay, you are clearly told, okay, that you shall not make no covenant with them nor their gods. Okay. They shall not dwell in your land. And this is why we accomplished more when we were separated from that. Okay. Lest they make thee sin against me. Because you can't live with them and not worship their gods of materialism. That's impossible. And their wood and stone edifices. There is no way. Okay? So you must have the courage today to walk away from these false gods. Because our people and our children are going to pay a heavy price for this. And this is what our people don't realize until it's too late. And that's why we're sending the warning to you today. Okay, and your ignorance of divine laws and principles will not save you from the consequence and retribution of the creator-creatrix spirit. Okay? So he said, for if you serve their gods, it will surely be a snare unto me. This is what was the other scripture that I chose from the New Testament, which helps to explain the law of manifestation that we are currently dealing with. But the hour is coming, and now is, the manifestation is here. The vortex, energy vortex is open. And the entities that hate you so much know this, because they have learned how to look to the stars too, although they can't interpret it. They know that something is happening in the celestial sphere. And that is the Nibiru, the Brother Lance, that force that has now galvanized and is moving in a powerful way. So John 4:23 says, but the hour is coming and now is when the true worshipers in our chakras, the true worshipers will worship the Father, the Creator, Patar, in spirit and truth, for the Father seeks such to worship him. And here's the most important part of this script. For God is a spirit, and those that worship him must worship him in spirit and truth. Not going to these altars, not putting down your money on these altars, not giving your allegiance to these people that have made covenants with these entities that are against the Creator, which you don't recognize that they have made these covenants. Okay. And this is why our people are suffering, because our people suffer because of a lack of knowledge. Finally, the gods that you're worshiping have no power. This is all hocus pocus, but they use a lot of spells and magics on our people. And that's why they must keep you divided. So Psalms 115, 5 through 9. They have mouths, but speak not. Because when they speak to you, the sounds you hear are not real sounds. Okay, they're guttural sounds. Okay, because they can't speak. They cannot speak the words of the Netaru. That is impossible. And this is why I always say that you are following a people with a 90-degree way of seeing the world that have put you into a 90-degree angle when you are a 720-degree metaphysical being. Okay. And those of you who have not connected with the spirit of Om, 432 hertz, you still have 360 degrees here on the planet that's higher than 90 degrees. Okay. But they have mouths and speak not. They have ears, but they hear not. They can't hear the words of the Creator, Creative Spirit, because real hearing has nothing to do with this. Okay? They have eyes, but see not. Why? Because only those with an open pineal gland can see this. They have noses, but they can't smell. They have feet, but cannot walk. Okay? Nor can they utter a sound with their throats. And with real sound, it comes from your throat chakra. Okay? So I hope all you biblical scholars out there kind of really tuned in with that. That's something that is open for discussion. And we're going to go right into our lesson on African history. Now, these people have our brothers and sisters fighting over this stuff, okay? So I'm going to go on record and say that the African spirit is the seat of the knowledge from the Creator, Creative Spirit. And all of us who are melanated with an open pineal gland, okay, this is the seat of our spiritual knowledge. Turtle Island, okay, has another meaning for us, okay? And stop letting people put you against, okay, why do you think, and this comes again from this 90-degree way of interpreting and putting out narratives instead of conceptualizing truth, is that why do you think the Creator has knowledge on just one place? Our people set up original knowledge on every continent on this planet. So stop this foolishness, okay? So when we look at spiritual concepts, we know that it's African because that's where the Creator Creative Spirit originated. The proof is in Kemet. Go there and see it. Okay, and stop letting these people put you against each other so that you, through your ego, can say that you have more knowledge than your brothers and sisters. That doesn't mean anything. If you're not building with that knowledge, then you're basically just doing what they have taught you to do, to stroke your ego and set you above your brothers and sisters, which you are not. Actually, a true servant like Lance, okay, humbles themselves to the people. This is why we have these liars who call themselves politicians that use our people. Okay, they have also made a covenant with these false gods, okay, who they worship. And we have proof that they worship these false gods. Okay, so stop listening to this garbage when they're arguing back and forth, because they are now under the spell that they created with lying spirits. And this is why they attack the truth, that you must walk away from this. Okay? So I just want to clarify that, because, you know, I hear these people saying, oh, well, African knowledge. No. Okay, you go there and you see it and you will have no doubt. Okay, so stop this foolishness, fighting your brothers and sisters over this nonsense that these false gods have had you worshiping for all these centuries here. Okay. In our creation story, Ptah, the God that created all gods and created the world and the universe through the spoken word. This is where you get this narrative from. But this is one of our original concepts. And along with the creatrix segment, okay, they establish what we know as the universe and the world today. So we have proof with the Memphite theology. Professor Kamene, one of our brilliant brothers, historians, did a brilliant book on the Shabaka stone. Okay, and the Shabaka stone teaches us that all atoms that come into existence, okay, came into existence through the cosmetic trinity, okay, which was Mother Nut, Father Geb, and Shu, which is the atmosphere. The planetary trilogy or trinity was Asar, Aset, and Heru. So this is where we get this principle of as within, so without. And you must understand that we're talking 10,000-year-old concepts where you have accepted the teachings that are probably 1,800 years old or just under 2,000 years old that came from your original conceptual knowledge. You must understand this. You are under a heavy spell. So I want to ask this question. Are you greater than your grandparents? No, because without your grandparents, you would never exist. Without your grandparents, your parents would have never been born on both sides. Okay, so you have to comprehend that unless you connect to your original conceptual knowledge, that you are not connected to source energy. What you are doing is regurgitating information that was repackaged, stolen, and plagiarized, and then represented to you with these other names that you worship that we're going to talk about. So the Memphite theology, which came out of Nefer or Memphis, and the Shabaka stone, which was created by King Shabaka, is proof that our people had this esoteric, or is just one proof that our people had this esoteric knowledge that no one else had. Okay, so let's talk about, we're still keeping with African history. Okay, let's talk about how thousands of years, okay, Kemet and Mayat, these concepts out of Kemet and the Mayatan laws existed thousands of years before the religions of Judaism, Islam, and Christianity, which are the three major religions in the world today. Okay, so let's look at, now you have a 10,000-year-old documented history that they have in European museums all around the world. Okay, this is not something that Neil Frazier is saying. This is not something that LanceScurv is saying. We have proof of this, and I'm going to show you the proof today. So they know who you are. You just don't know who you are. And this has got to change. And again, I say, okay, that's fine. You can continue to go and do this, but stop telling our children these lies, because what you don't know is that they're coming for the kids. Okay, and you are opening the door. You might as well open the door and let them into your house, because you are bringing in this garbage that they have given to you and paid you for, and paid our young people to present, to destroy our culture. And a lot of it is your fault. Okay, you're not a teenager. And when I say you, I'm talking about me too. Okay, so don't take it personally. What I'm saying is, as a collective now, we must go on the offensive. We cannot continue. First of all, we don't have the institutions that can battle against this. Okay, this is the one problem that we have, because the institutions that we call Black universities, again, I love Morgan, I love Clark Atlanta, okay, but in many cases, okay, they are still teaching a Europeanized, Hellenized way through these Greek organizations. They're teaching our children to worship these people who stole our legacy and plagiarized it. And this is the problem I have with that. Okay, so here's the proof, okay? You have a 10,000-year-old documented history in the museums, your European museums around the world. They hold your history. In the British Museum, you have the 10,000-year-old Egyptian Book of the Dead, okay, or the Coming Forth by Day, okay, as it's also known as, or the Coming Forth of Light, okay. And this is where all of the religious knowledge, including what you call the scriptures, which I just read, comes from. You must understand this, This came from Black African people. And you can get any of your professors from any of your universities, and I will debate you on this. In the British Museum, they have the 5,000-year-old relief of Imhotep, okay, who is the first physician in history that the Western world and Western intelligentsia gives credit to Hippocrates as the father of medicine. The interesting thing, which Dr. John Henry Clark taught us, is that Hippocrates said that he is a child of Imhotep, who existed 2,500 years before this person that they call the father of medicine. Our children must know this, okay? At the temple of Imhotep in Saqqara, Egypt, or Kemet, they have Asclepius, who the Greeks worshipped Imhotep at this temple, okay? It's the Greek temple that was built on the Libyan mountain. And I remember years ago, that's why Muammar Gaddafi was hated so much when he paid homage to the ancestors, saying, we have the real history of the world in our mountains, okay? Imhotep means son of Ptah. And in the British Museum exhibit EA886, it's there. So this cannot be denied by any of your so-called professors or doctors of history or whoever you want to call, because Egyptology is just the Europeanized narrative of our people. So you can call it what you want. I know what it is. It's garbage. In the Luxor Museum, you have exhibit JA43. You have minis on Narma, the first king in history from the dynastic period, which is 3,100 BCE. Now, whenever you see that BCE, before the Christian era, that means that they have no knowledge of what your esoteric history is, okay? But they know it because they have proof. In the museum in Italy, the Palermo stone, which is 2,500 BCE, okay, is there. And do your research on the Palermo stone. In the Cairo Museum, they have a palette of Narma that is 5,000 years old. In the Petrie Museum, they have a bust of Narma that is 5,000 years old in exhibit CG14716. Now, we begin to see how they begin to change history here, because there are 400 to 500 Black Madonnas in Europe, okay? Not no Virgin Mary, not none of this stuff that you worship, these false gods you worship. And there are also Black Madonnas in Mexico and South America. I have personally spoken with friends that I have from Brazil, from Mexico, that have verified this for me, okay? In the British Museum, okay, you have, before there was any place called Europe in history, the first mathematical instrument and the first proof of counting system of fractions and whole numbers was the Ashaka bone, okay, which is a 8,000-year-old mathematical instrument that was found in the Congo, okay? I made a special note about this. It is the earliest known corpus of the pyramid texts and the ancient Egyptian texts, which I'm gonna clarify to you right now. In the funeral chamber of Saqqara at Saqqara, Egypt, you have the pyramid text of Unas, okay, which is 2,300 BCE from the Old Kingdom, the Medu Neter, okay, which is the ancient Egyptian text, and that's the Medu Neter when they say that, because they have no knowledge, esoteric knowledge of this. In Pert M. Heru of Hanefer in the British Museum, 1,300 BCE, the big book, they have the Book of the Dead with the 42 negative confessions versus the 10 commandments. And again, I explained that earlier, the difference between I have not. Okay, when you reject wickedness, then you will not do something. Okay, but when you say I shall not, that leaves the door opening, saying, okay, I can follow these false gods, I can do all this wickedness, and then I can repent. No, you can't. Okay, I don't care what these people who have made covenant with these false gods tell you. There is no repenting and going to Jesus. And no, you have violated, okay, the laws, the divine laws of the universe and the principles of the creator, creatrix, divine laws. But Pert M. Heru of Hanefer, the king that responsible for the Shavaka stone, we have this history, okay? Let's see. Pharaoh Shabaka, okay? Also, this stone that they found that talks about higher spiritual knowledge is 2,700 BCE, okay? Okay, so continuing with our African heritage, let's look at what was produced out of the world's greatest center of learning, which has a continual history, cultural history of 3,000 years old. Now, when these people on the History Channel lie and tell you that Rome had the greatest civilization in history, that's a lie. That history lasted 600 years. Your history has a cultural continuity of 3,000 years of unbroken civilization. You do the math. Okay, so I made a note here that that the Greeks themselves will tell you that they studied in Kemet. But it is the, and I don't like the word supremacy, but it is the racism of those people you call Egyptologists and the Western world that has corrupted this, okay, and have gotten you thinking that that knowledge is the original knowledge when Rome existed for 600. And we're gonna, when we go into European history, I'm gonna break that down for you. But this is what our Kemetic history produced, okay? You produce algebra, you produce writing and counting, which I showed you with the Oshaka bone that is 8,000 years old in the British Museum. They didn't want you to know about this, so they hid it. It's from the Congo, and this was long before any place that you know as Europe existed. Geometry you created, okay? You created medicine, Imhotep, okay? We know from Eratosthenes that he used astronomy and geometry, and he used the tekken, which you know as the obelisk, okay, as a scientific instrument to actually measure the circumference of the earth. Just like Benjamin Banneker, who they won't teach our kids about in school. I believe his name is Thomas Ellicott, is the one that they present as the surveyor. But without Benjamin Banneker, there would be no city we know as Washington, D.C., and they know this. Okay? But Benjamin Banneker had to stay up all night, interpret the stars, so that the city of Washington, D.C., okay, could be built on a prime meridian. And every day, every morning, Thomas Ellicott, the primary surveyor, would come in, use Benjamin Banneker's notes, and begin mapping out the Earth plane. Because see, you cannot have a terrestrial plane or terrestrial anything without the celestial or cosmological conception of it. And so without Benjamin Banneker and having this esoteric knowledge through his first eye, there would be no city that we know, the most powerful city in the Western world, as Washington, D.C. And if any one of their so-called scholars want to debate on that, I'm ready. You produce science. You produce chemistry. In fact, Upper Kemet, or Egypt, was known as Chem, C-H-E-M, okay? We know this, which is a descriptive word for blackface. You produce fractions, as we've shown that with the Ashaka bone. You produce calculus, trigonometry, and botany. Now, the other thing is, when what they call the Holy Land, or Jerusalem, that you believe, 6,000 years prior to that was the city of Aptu, which was the first Holy Land, which the Arabs changed the name to Abydos, okay, which still has that name today. So they started replacing our spiritual names or our esoteric names with these names that you know today, okay? The other thing is we also created a calendar, 365 day calendar with a extra day for the leap year, and it was 4,236 years old. Okay, so nobody can tell me, okay, that this knowledge that you're teaching our children preceded 4,000 years of knowledge. I mean, 10,000 years of knowledge. And they might be able to tell you that because you worship them in their churches, but I know better. And in their institutions of indoctrination, I know better. Okay, so the way that our people originally mapped out the stars, you see with Orion's belt and other astronomical systems, is because they had the cycles, the seasons, the continuous cycles every year that was unbroken in our lands. So we knew when the seasons changed. We knew when a certain star, the star appeared in the east or in the northern hemisphere. Then we knew that the Nile banks would be flooded, okay, and that this would make the soil fertile and we could plant our crops. Okay, we knew this. But then when they came along, and I'll talk about this in one of our videos we did, Lance, about Things Fall Apart. This book I first read in my humanities class prior to the invasion of our lands and colonialism, where we were on this crop and harvest system where we planted the seeds at the right time of year to get the right harvest, and our storehouses would be running over with seeds. And this is a very important point for you to understand how capitalism has put you in a stranglehold. But this goes all the way back to the time they invaded our lands. So what they did was they studied us. They knew that we lived according to natural laws. And so because of the wickedness, they said, okay, we're going to change this. So they began to take control of the storehouses. When they learned from our farmers and scientists that how the crops, when the crops were planted, they had no knowledge of the fertilization process, okay, and germination. So they had to rely. This is why the people that they stole from our lands to come here to build this land, which you call slaves, were our scientists, our farmers, they were astronomers. This is what it, you cannot build a land without these people, the people that have this knowledge. So stop this foolishness, okay? That is impossible. So what they did was, and then things fall apart, they told this story from the son of one of the tribal chiefs, that when the Europeans came, they seized the storehouses, okay? They took away the seeds, and they created this system that we still have today of supply and demand. So then they would ration out how many seeds you get, how many the other when our people never did that. This still affects us today. Our people, and I remember that my parents, they had the barter system when we had our own communities, and what you call hoods. My mama could go next door, get salt, flour, sugar, whatever, and then she gave them what they need. The whole community operated. In fact, in the churches, people brought this like a storehouse. And you went, my father and them, they had this set up. You went, you got what you needed. You didn't have to go to no grocery store. And these are the things that have been taken and removed from us, the natural laws that we live by. So back to things fall apart, the evil wickedness, which you know as capitalism today, they set up a supply and demand system in there. And then our people, oh, this is the other part that was very important because of our esoteric, because remember, everything that we did was a form of worship, okay? We didn't go into no building to worship the Creator. We worship the Creator on the soil, under a tree, like our griots taught us, okay? So when they started doing this, okay, it broke this continuity of spirit that our people possessed when we came together and we planted and we worshiped the Creator. We planted the crops because we knew it was going to be a big harvest. So then they set up this competitive system between a natural competitive system. You're dealing with wickedness here, okay? That you're still worshiping. They set up this system, which is very cruel, okay, where our people had to fight against each other now just to feed their families. And it's still that way today, okay? This took away the spiritual worship of Ptah, and it took away the sacred things that we held to the land. Because when there was a season of harvest that our people worship, that the Europeans corrupted, okay? And so this is why, again, this is what angers me about these people they call pastors and preachers that are lying to our people, okay? Because if they studied the truth and they knew the truth, they would not call themselves men of God and teach this, okay? This scripture, love your neighbor as yourself. It is impossible to do in this system. Why? Because we compete against our neighbors. We don't love our neighbors as ourselves. In fact, this system is what has created the jealousy and the envious spirit that exists amongst our people today, because there's never enough to go around, where we live in a universe of abundance, okay? But you're dealing with principalities and powers and wickedness in high places. Okay, so you see, you had a great and glorious history, or you have a great and glorious history. And when we compare it to what was now given to us, you'll see how we ended up in the condition that we're in today. The last part of our great Kemetic history, we're going to talk about, again, keeping with the esoteric or hidden knowledge that we have that no one else has. We're going to talk about symbols and how these symbols have the original symbols that were in our that were archetypes in our subconscious and in our chakras have now been replaced or Europeanized, Hellenized, and Aryanized. But our symbols, okay, let's start with the United States because we live here. If you look on the back of the US dollar, you see our symbols. Okay, you see the pyramid and you see the all-seeing eye. Okay, one of the things, this is a corruption of our great symbols. And one of the things that I came to the knowledge of is that this is why our people are under a spell with this false money, what they call money, this paper money, because they took our symbols. And when we look at those symbols, there's something deep inside of us that connects with these symbols, which we have no comprehension of. But when you look at the people who studied this and then opposed the creator's teachings, natural teachings like Aleister Crowley, then they begin to teach you things that corrupted you in terms of your understanding and comprehension of how you're supposed to live. One of the other major symbols, and Lance, if you could put up that symbol that I sent you of the female uterus.
Yes, yes. That size was actually very small, but I quickly Googled something that I think you'll be pleased because it kind of a little more explanation.
Okay.
File sizes, or for Google, sometimes some could be smaller. Now, this might partially block your face when I show it, but I'm going to put it up.
No, that's fine. I want you to.
Okay.
I want to show this symbol. Okay. Okay, I see what they did. And it's true, the Ankh is the symbol of life. But the picture that I sent you, the reason why I wanted to show that is because the symbol of the Ankh is in the uterus of the melanated woman. And you can see that from that picture I sent you.
Okay, I'll get that in. Give me 2 seconds.
Yeah. And see, this is very important because our people, again, did not deal with exoteric. They dealt with it, but only for purposes of analogies. But we had the true knowledge, okay, that was inside of us because we looked inside of us to find the true answers of the creator-creatrix spirit. But I'm going to go on. You can show it when you are able to show that picture.
Okay. I'll remove this one. Just give me a few moments. I'll bring it up.
Yeah, okay. Okay. Right. But it correctly says that the Ankh is the symbol of life. And you'll see this in the uterus. You're going to be fascinated when you see this picture like I was the first time I saw it years ago. Right. The Ankh versus the cross. Now, the cross is a symbol of death. And this is why no black person should be wearing a cross around their death or their neck. Where do you see the cross? In a cemetery.
Right.
Or you see it when they have this plagiarized story about someone being on a cross and crucified. But This is why you were nailed to a tree or hung from a tree and lynched. Because they understood what this symbol of the cross means, which you don't. Don't put those demonic symbols on our children. You can wear them if you want to. But the major difference, again, we go back to conceptual knowledge versus narrative knowledge, okay, which people who have to plagiarize because they are not able to get the esoteric knowledge that we can in our genetic memory bank. But I want to make this clear that the cross is a symbol of death. And this is why, if you go back in our history here in America, when they were lynching us and hanging us from trees, that you saw people with crosses. Okay, this is the reason for that. Okay, so we go down to pyramids. Now, the pharaoh Zoser, who Imhotep was the grand vizier for, was the first person to commission the building of a pyramid. And the other, see, this is why we call Imhotep the first multi-genius in history. Imhotep was a mason and a master builder, not just the father of medicine. Okay, many people are unaware of this. The step pyramid at Saqqara, Imhotep is the master mason builder, or I should say mason master builder, the first one to build a pyramid that still stands to this day, that was commissioned by Pharaoh Zoser. We have the bust of Queen Tai, who is the mother of Akhenaten, who they plagiarized the story of Moses after, who is the world's first great reformer, because he was the one that reformed some of the traditions of our people. Now, when we move into world literature, okay, again, from Dr. John Henry Clarke and George G.M. James, we know that the first show of European literary intelligentsia, okay, on the world stage was from Homer in 850 BC, the Iliad and the Odyssey. And this is why they teach you this, to make you think that this is original knowledge. This show, first show of European intelligence, is almost 8,000 years, okay, after our original knowledge. And you must comprehend the importance of that. That's like you telling people that you are your grandparents reincarnated. Okay? Well, if you have that power to do that, then you need to show me. Okay? Just like when people tell you that a woman was created from the rib of the man, when we know that the creatrix spirit, okay, is part of the supreme creator creatrix spirit of the universe. And that if you could show me anybody that's born into this world without a umbilical cord, I'll go back to church tomorrow. If you're born into this world, you're born through the womb of a woman. And you have a placenta, the woman has a placenta and a umbilical cord. So these lies that you have been told, I'm just begging you, I'm begging my people today, do not pass this down to our children, because they are already fighting a tremendous battle. Okay? So we know that the first show of European intelligence was almost over 8,000 years after our knowledge. Okay? In fact, 850 BC. Okay? which is the Iliad and Odyssey. That's it. That's it. Thank you, brother. Now, you see, this is the uterus of a woman, of a melanated black or brown woman. This is in your uterus. And the first time years ago, when I saw this, I was blown away. When one of my spiritual teachers showed me this. See, our people in our history has been so corrupted that you're focusing on something that has deceived you for centuries, millennia. But this is what our people created the Neter-Ankh. And it is literally the symbol of life, not a cross that is the symbol of death. You won't see a cross in the uterus of a melanated woman. You show me a cross. I'm waiting. If we have any doctors that hear this today, somebody show me a damn cross in the uterus of a woman. But this is the esoteric knowledge that our people got, and that our people knew, and that our people was connected with, that you have now, because you are bowing down to the altars of these false gods, have rejected. Okay, brother, thank you. But that picture shows why our ancestors created the Neter-Ankh, the symbol of life, which you should have in your home or wear around your neck, not no damn cross or symbol of death. We know from our grandmaster teacher, Dr. Asa Hilliard, who I had the chance to meet when he was at Georgia State University, did a couple of lectures at Clark Atlanta. A brilliant man. I think, in fact, he died in Africa. In fact, one of his students who is doing a brilliant work today, Dr. Anthony Browder, also teaches this knowledge, which our children need to have. And these people you won't hear about unless we bring their names up. But Dr. Asa Hilliard taught us that Western intelligentsia is rooted in Greek culture, and Greek culture is rooted in Egyptian culture or Kemetic culture. And this is why we say that you are the root of the Western world, even in their science, okay, in their intelligentsia, or their institutions that you love so much, that's teaching you against yourself and denying that we teach the truth. But you don't want the Academy of Neter to teach our children the truth, or you don't want Lance to bring out the deceptions and the manipulations that these people are doing to us every day. We're in a sad situation that we don't have to be. Okay, so Dr. Hilliard taught us that that the pantheon, okay, which is only, I'm sorry, he taught us that that Thales, okay, another Greek philosopher that we worship in the Western world, or they worship, I don't, advised Pythagoras, okay, to go study in Kemet. Okay, we know the schools they went to, and we know their teachers. Okay, so we're gonna move into European history now. Now that we have laid the foundation of true knowledge, we're gonna go into European history, and then we're gonna cover what has come down to us today, why there is so much confusion with our people, and how that you can't separate. This is, before I go into European history, brother, I want to explain something. This is why Dr. Clark told us to study European history, because you can't, even the Bible that you're worshiping, you can't have the full knowledge of it until you study European history. That is impossible, because everything that you are doing and worshiping today comes out of this history, which we're going to go into today. Okay? So this history was not just the religious history that you love so much. It was also intertwined with the secular history of Europeans. And this is what you don't get, is that they did not separate church and state like you do, that you have been taught to do, but you've been taught that for a reason, a deceptive reason. Because if you ever put together, or you'll be able to do that after today, if you don't reject it, if you deal in truth, you'll see why you have this separation, because they don't want you to connect the dots from where this came from. So let's go into European history. It's a very fascinating history. If our people knew this history, they would walk away from what they're currently doing. I'm convinced of that. So the first invasion of Kemet was by the Hyksos. This was between 1700 and 1900 BC, I believe, somewhere in that area. Okay, the Hyksos was a Semitic people from Western Asia. Now, what our people don't know is that, okay, Asia, if you look back at the Zhang dynasty, there was a professor, a Chinese professor, I believe it was, that did a study that revealed that in the Western world tried to shut him down, just like they did Sheikh Anta Dia, because they can't handle this type of truth. But he said unequivocally that they have traced the history of their people back to Dignesh. Okay, so you can sit around here, okay, and love these people and continue to deny the truth and the history of our people and the Creator, but you're going to be the one that's going to pay a heavy price for this. But this Chinese professor went on record and they iced him. I tried to get more information about him. You can't get no information about him now, but this is what they do. They cut the truth. But he said their cultural knowledge and everything can be traced back to the original peoples. And you know who that is. So the Hyksos, this is why when you look at the Medu Neter, you see where you have the black, brown, and then you have the light skin. Well, that represents the Hyksos. It represents the different eras in which these things happen. And it's always the black first, then the red, black, brown, red, and then the light. Okay. So there was a god, Serapis Christus, okay, which was, okay, so let me set the stage here. After the Hyksos invaded Kemet, things begin to change. Then we see the colorization of our people, which has happened even down to this day, being slowly removed. Okay, so there was a god, okay, that was created, Serapis Christus, which is a combination of the Egyptian god Osiris, or Egyptian deity Osiris, because we can't call our deities gods, because our people did not worship other human beings as gods. They worship deities, okay, as a conceptual aspect of the creator. So Osiris and Apis the bull, which is also an important deity in Egyptian mythology, was combined to become Osiris. Okay. And this deity was very important in Egyptian knowledge. Okay. So we fast forward to when Ptolemy, okay, Ptolemy I was the emperor of Rome. I'm sorry, the Greek emperor, okay, that basically said that we're going to combine the Egyptian theology or Egyptian deities with the Greek deities, okay? And we're gonna satisfy all of our constituents who were now not just Egyptians but Greeks, okay? So what Ptolemy did, okay, he basically set this this god Serapis, who as time went on was used as the image for what you know today as Jesus the Christ. And this god was a very powerful image in European history. Now, when it started out, as I said, Serapis was initially came from our people, okay, that the deities of Osiris and Apis the bull. But what happened was Ptolemy I, who took on, let me give this history before I go on. So, because this is a very important part of religious history that our people are unaware of, that has, if they were, they would not have this fervor that they have for these false gods. But so he wanted to be worshipped as a, like the Egyptians treated the pharaohs like they were deity, okay? But he wanted to be worshipped when he took the throne by force as a deity, and the Egyptian people said, no, we don't choose you. The creator chooses you. Ptah chooses you. So we are not going to worship you as that. So what he did was he started slaughtering Egyptian people in Menepher, or in Memphis, until the priest, or what you know as priest, in Memphis had to give in and give him this knowledge and this title. So he took on the title of Moriamum Septepera Soter. And this is very important for our people to hear. I want you to hear me very good about this, okay? The word Soter means savior, or Sater, however you want to pronounce it. But we know that this word means savior. And this is where you get this concept, or this narrative, not a concept, but you get this narrative about a savior from. Mori means love in the Medunetra, and it was corrupted into the Virgin Mary that you worship today. Septepera means chosen. Mori Amun means chosen by Amun, okay, which was our primary deity. The sun god. And Septepera means chosen by God. Okay, so although he didn't have the esoteric knowledge or conceptual knowledge of this, he basically made himself a god, and he basically made people worship him as a god. And it was when Constantine ascended to the throne after Alexander the Great, okay, that that he began to, in the Council of Nicaea in 325 BC, when they began to remove, okay, our people out of the scriptures and replace them with what you know now today as Jesus the Christ. Okay, so this figure Serapis is very important because as time moved down, okay, when Ptolemy, when they began to worship Serapis, then they started to change the characteristics of Serapis. So it was no longer Osiris, Isis, and Asar. It was no longer our primary deities or netters. It became had more Greek characteristics, and they began to Hellenize what you know as the scriptures today. Okay, they begin to Hellenize this information. And then Serapis started taking on the characteristics of Zeus and Pluto, which were Greek gods. Okay, they begin to take on those characteristics. What many people don't know is that Isis, okay, was worshipped, or Aset was worshipped by the Greeks, okay, and the Romans as a goddess. Okay, they worshipped black gods. In fact, Isis has a temple, okay, that the Greeks used to go to worship at. Okay, but as time went down, then these characteristics, as I said, started to be Hellenized. Okay, where these characteristics of Serapis started to take on some of the attributes that you know today that are attributed to who you call Jesus the Christ, or the Savior. He could heal the sick. He offered riches and prosperity. There were many children that were named after Serapis. I believe it was called Serapion. Okay. So, and this is a very important part of European history, because when Constantine ascended the throne, this is where he began to replace everything. Okay. And so we see now, when that's the Greco part, but now we get to a part of European history that's very, very important. This was during the time of Nero, the emperor, or the Caesar of Rome. And what our people don't know is that the Caesar was also called King of Kings and Lord of Lords, which you think that term applies to the individual that you worship that's called Jesus. But every Roman emperor had that title. So I want to tell a story as we go down now into Roman history from Greek history. Nero, they tell a story about Nero where he actually was a narcissist. He was an extreme narcissist. And he used to put on these one-man shows, you know, like an Oscar performance, where he would sing and he would act, because it was said that he wanted people to worship him as a god, and he wanted to impress people. And again, you have to understand that this whole concept of worshiping a man as a god is not new. This is something that came out of European history. because they used the sword, okay, to conquer people. But Vespasian, or Titus Flavius Vespasian, is a very, very important person in Roman history. In fact, he was the first pope. If you read in the Talmud, in the third order, in the sixth tractate, it tells this story of Vespasian meeting with a Jewish high priest or rabbi who, because he needed the Romans to help them fight this uproar that was in Judea, he met secretly with, because had the people of Judea knew that he met with this Roman general, it would have been over for him. So he met with him, and they convinced him, because they needed his help, that he was the Messiah. Now I'm going to go back to Nero. So what happened was Vespasian, you know, was an older guy like me. Nero would put on these shows that lasted, sometimes they said 5 or 6 hours, and he would start late at night into the morning. So Vespasian fell asleep. The only reason he didn't kill him is because he needed Vespasian to conquer these territories, because he couldn't do it, and his son Titus to conquer these territories. And he knew that Vespasian had already conquered Gaul and most of North Africa, so he needed him to continue this campaign. So what he did was he banished Vespasian from Rome. I mean, he sent him to fight a war somewhere away from Rome. So when, and this is very important, because Vespasian said that he was visited by Serapis, and that so when, what happened was there were 3 Roman emperors that were killed in less than a year. Nero committed suicide. Then there was Gava, who was an older general that marched on Rome and conquered it and became the emperor of Rome. And then Gava was killed within, I believe it was 3 months of ascending to the throne. And then there was Otho, who became Caesar after Gava was assassinated in the Senate, because these people meted out justice in their political arenas, not like it is today. Well, it's like that today, but it's in a different form. It's still the same thing. But Otho was the lover of Nero, and so he ascended to the throne after Gava was assassinated. And then there was the 4th Caesar, I believe his name was Evicus or something. I can't even pronounce that name. But then he was assassinated. So when Gava ascended to the throne after Nero was killed, Vespasian was fighting a war for Nero. And back during that time, it took 2 to 3 months just to get a message back to Rome. So he sent his son Titus to pay homage to Gava, but Titus never made it there because, again, Gava was assassinated. He didn't make it there in time. So a message came back to Vespasian that all 4 emperors of Rome were assassinated, and that the people of Rome now commissioned him to be the Caesar. So Vespasian went back to Rome, okay, and he ascended to the throne. Now what's interesting, when Vespasian ascended to the throne. Now let's talk about the deities that were worshipped in temples and churches like Isis. And as I said, as time went on, they became less of African deities and became more Hellenized. So when the Romans took over, the same concept, Isis, becomes the goddess Demiurge. So the point is that our people have to study European history so you'll understand where the concept of worshiping gods come from. And you see in the scriptures that I read to you earlier that you take to heart what the Creator said to you about this idol worship. Okay, so Isis became the goddess Demiurge. Okay, and as I told you before, Muri, which means love, was replaced by Mary. The Roman replaced her, and she became Mary, or the Virgin Mary. Okay. Also, there was in Roman theology, they took Ishtar, and they replaced Isis with the Roman goddess Ishtar. And here's the twist. Ishtar became the goddess that resurrected Osiris. Okay, you see how they took our story and then plagiarized it and twisted it? She became the one that resurrected Osiris instead of Isis, or instead of Aset. Okay, and that's a very important point for you to comprehend and remember, that their knowledge of spirituality had to do with the worship of men and women. And this is why today, where all these titles come from and where you pick this stuff up, where you think you're better than your brothers and sisters, because they give you a title that makes you feel you're better than someone. And then they pay you this false money that you worship in order to verify that you're better than your brothers and sisters, which is a lie, when really they're putting a spell on you. Okay, so the last part of European history that we're going to talk about, Vespasian was born in Italy in 9 AD. Titus Flavius Vespasian. Don't take my word for it, go study it. He was referred to as the Messiah. Okay, so what you also have to understand, that throughout antiquity, there were 16 crucified Christs. Okay, so this concept has always existed in the world. This is not a new concept because you're calling someone Jesus and a Savior. Okay, this concept is thousands of years old. Okay, so finally, and I think I talked to you about this already, that finally, when Constantine ascended to the throne and he made Christianity the religion, the state religion, the people who were known as Christians then were worshiping Serapis. Okay, now you have to know this. Don't take my word for it. Study European history. The person that you're calling Jesus Christ, that you're worshiping today, is Serapis Christus. Okay, and that deity has been changed down throughout the ages, but it wasn't until the Nicene Council that they did away with all the conceptual knowledge that our people established. And so, brother, with that, I'm going to end the presentation. I have some time. I have an appointment at 4 o'clock. No, I don't have an appointment till 4 o'clock. I don't have to leave till another hour.
Right. So, I understand.
So, if you want to interact with some of the people in the chat or whatever you want to do, brother, I turn it back over to you.
Yes, I'm gonna drop the link in right now. Let's see.
Okay.
Okay, we're going to come on in and speak with Brother Neil Frazier on this fantastic word that he has shared to clarify a lot of the falsehoods. Brother just fell off, but I know he'll come back on. So let's make it where if you want to come on in, he'll be back. He has a little more time left. All he has to do is hit that link again. Okay, let me see something here. Okay, here he is again.
Do you see how they cut the link?
Yep.
Oh, wow. Wow, they cut the link, bro.
Oh,
wow.
Get used to that on this side of town. Trust me.
Wow, that was deep.
Yep.
That was deep.
Like I said, we're going to work the agents. If they want to play around, well, I'm 24/7. I got all the time in the world to do this. When they go to sleep, I come back on.
Yes, sir. Because we know who controls the globe. So, right. Yeah, brother, I hope that this presentation kind of opens some eyes with some things. I'm open to dialogue with people. One thing that I don't do is I don't argue about religion and that stuff. Like if people want to talk about it, we can talk about science and knowledge and stuff like that. But that dogmatism, I don't even deal with because I know the origins of it. And right. So, but I'll talk with people if they want to talk about religion, want to talk about the scriptures or whatever they want to talk about, we can.
Yes.
But I turn the floor back over to you, brother.
All right, I'm here. Like I said, I like the way you present everything. In a cool, calm manner, you present the facts and you invite anybody to dispute them. But you're not looking to argue. You're making a plain.
No, not at all.
You're not screaming at the top of your lungs. You're not yelling. You're not coming already in the presentation with a twisted mentality of body. You do it,
and that's for a reason to get us off point.
Right. So you're not doing it with involved, and you just present it, and that's it. And there will be people who, in the comment section, they can't help themselves.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Our people are under a tremendous spell and delusion, brother. It goes beyond reason. It really does. Because when you look at the scientific facts and you look at the conceptual knowledge of our people, then it's just a matter of you making a choice to reject it and walk away and continue to serve these false gods. That's really, brother, what it comes down to.
Right.
It's a choice.
And see, many people have been following a certain way their entire life.
Uh-huh.
And stand the thought that they have to get off that line and get at the end of another line to relearn.
Right.
Not only that, but they trusted so much in the people that don't look like us to give them this knowledge. And they were so fully vested in it from birth. There's whole family, generations and neighborhoods, and when you go to these schools where other people teach us and we accept this, and then we become masters of it.
Yes.
Walk around with it like it's a big stick to beat everybody else down. And then when they hear something like this, they take it in a very angry way, like pull the rug from under their feet.
Oh yeah. Well, and again, when we're battling at this level of spiritual warfare, then because they're under the spell of these spirits, these principalities and these entities, a lot of it is not even coming from them. It's coming from they're being possessed and taken over when they think it's them, when it's really not. And you cannot, the only way that you can come from under this spell, first of all, is to look at it for what it is. See, this is why if you go to a therapist or place you go to get healing from something, whether it's a mental, a physical, or a physical psychological problem, the number one thing you have to do, you cannot help someone if they're not willing to admit what the problem is, okay? I don't care how much you think you can help someone. If you're asking them what the source of this problem or issue is, and you're pointing this out and they know it, but they refuse to accept it, there's nothing you can do. So I learned a long time ago, once I begin to dialogue with the person, if they're not open to us having a rational conversation, I walk away. Because what sense does it make to argue with a fool? It doesn't make any sense. So you've been fooled. I know you've been fooled. So why would I waste my time and my energy trying to convince you that you're a fool? No, I can't do that. I don't have the power to do that. Only you, through seeking truth, can do that. And this is the Now let's talk about something with one of the scriptures we read in Deuteronomy. As a matter of fact, I want to, maybe there are, of course we have Christians amongst our family, right?
Right.
But I'd like somebody to address this. I'd like somebody to address this for me. Who follows the Christian faith. I'd like you to address just 2 scriptures for me, or maybe 3. Is that okay, brother?
Sure.
Okay. Okay. Let's talk about the covenant, the 501c3 covenant that these pastors that you worship have made with the false gods that they worship. And anybody that's ever read a chart of a church or 501c3 know what I'm talking about. Exodus 23 and 32 to 33 says, "Thou shalt make no covenant," this is very clear language, "with them, nor their gods. They shall not dwell in thy land, lest they make thee sin against me." And see, your conception of this word sin is not what they're talking about. When the Creator said, I mean, that's what those people you're following, they've corrupted you. But when I don't like this interpretation from the Greeks, from the Torah, but also in the Greek Septuagint, it gives more of a better definition of sin. It is the transgression of the law, of divine law. So when least they make you transgress my laws against me. For if you serve their gods, it will surely be a snare unto thee. Okay, that's the first one I want them to deal with. The second one is, which one was that? Let's see. Okay. Well, actually, there are a couple more, brother, and we can start a discussion about it.
Yeah, no rush.
Oh, here it is. Do not conform. Oh, okay. Judges 2:2. "And ye shall make no league with the inhabitants of this land. Ye shall throw down their altars," or tear down their altars. Now, again, our people are taught to think on one plane, the physical plane. because they're blocked on the psychological and spiritual plane through these spells. But we exist on 3 planes: the physical, spiritual, and psychological. So when he's saying that ye shall throw down their altars, you mean the altars in your mind, okay, or being transformed by the renewing of your mind, or a metamorphosis. This is what throwing down their altars mean, walking away from that, okay? And then it says, ye shall throw down their altars, but you have not obeyed my voice. Why do you think that was said? You are still going to these houses of wood and stone. You are still kneeling down to their altars. You are still giving the hard-earned money from our communities to these false gods and putting it on their altars. Because these people that have made a covenant that you call pastors, that's taking this money from you, who do you think they're sacrificing this money to? I'd like somebody to tell me this. So you have not obeyed my voice, and why have you done this? I'd like somebody to tell me why you have done this. Okay, and the last 2 I want to read is yeah, for sure, but not that yet. Okay, to whom will you liken me? And the Lord shall go and cry. Oh yeah, so I just have 3 more before we can begin our conversation, brother. Right, Judges 10 and 14. Okay, well, now the Creator in this age of manifestation, where there is no middle ground now, you can't toggle back and forth no more. The Netaru have been released. Okay, you cannot toggle back and forth anymore. Judges 10 and 14. Go and cry unto the gods which ye have chosen. Okay, go cry to them now. Okay, let them deliver you in the time of your tribulation, which is now. The Netaru have been released. So all those who stand in opposition to the Creator, creative spirit now, you go to those same people and see what they tell you. Go to their banks and try to get some money. Why do you think they're trying to shut down the Academy of Netter or the LanceScurv network? Why do you think they're trying to do that? Okay, go to their banks and see if they'll give you any money to build anything in your community other than a liquor store and a church or a Korean nail store. Go there and see. So the Creator is telling you, no. Go to them now during your time of tribulation. Also, Isaiah 46:56. I really want somebody that follows the Christian religion to explain this to me. Isaiah 46:56. To whom will you liken me and make me equal? Because you made these false gods equal to the Creator, creative spirit. Okay, and compare me that we may be alike. They lavish gold and weigh silver. You see, they lavish you with this materialism, with cars and houses, and to make you think you're better than your brothers and sisters, and to keep you twisted. Okay, but that's not the worst part of it. Okay, the worst part is that you go and you hire them. Okay, every day I get about at least 25 to 30 of these people, masterclass this, masterclass that, to follow them, follow these false gods they're worshiping, and so they can tell you how to hire them to get silver and gold. No, I don't need to do that. Like I always say, I'll drink water and eat bread first. Okay, and then when you hire them, or you work for their corporations, okay, and you make it them a god, and you go and fall down and worship before them, then how can you say you love me? No, you do not love me. You do not love the Creator. You love the silver and gold. And the final scripture that I want to read to you that I like to have a real dialogue about with any of our Christian brothers and sisters or anybody. John 4:23. But the hour is coming. The manifestation is here. And now is when the true worshipers, okay, like LanceScurv, like me, and other people in the chat room, when the true worshipers will worship the Father, the Creator, Patar, in spirit and truth. For Patar seeks such to worship him. Okay? For the Father is spirit, and those that worship him must worship him in spirit and truth. And I'll be quiet, and I invite any of our brothers and sisters to dialogue on this. Because again, it's not about us yelling and screaming at each other to support demonic doctrines. It's about us being a think tank and talking this stuff through and trying to untangle. Because see, religion in the Roman language, and again, we learned this from our brother Kaaba, it means to bind. Okay, and you are bound right now in all three planes of existence because you continue to go to their altars. And you have been told, you have been warned against this, but now it's up to you. It's up to you now. So my brother.
Yes.
I'm going to end the presentation. This is something that I feel, you know, I feel that I did what was asked of me.
You surely did.
By the Spirit, and I'm satisfied with that. And I hope that our people got something out of it. And I'm looking forward to connecting with you again, my brother.
Yes, yes, I'm looking forward to it too. You hit the ground running. You were smooth the whole way. Like I said, it's phenomenal what you're doing. There's such clarity. Not walking away. We don't walk away confused. Even more so, we walk away sharper. With all those other things out there, they're drugged into this sleep, and they don't really know what they're doing. And every time you speak with us, so I know it's definitely. And I'm just so glad to work with you like this. You know, it makes me better because you know, I have my moments and joking and laughing and stuff like that, but I'm all for the truth, and anybody that brings the real thing, I'm all for it. And I thank you.
Well, brother, you're dealing with a lot, you know, having that Nibiru spirit. You know, I ain't jealous of you because that means you have the gifts, and then you have the Netaru, like Master Glam, Indigo King, all of these people around you.
They're right in here too.
Yeah. See, you know, and you have to have that because with that Nibiru spirit you have, and you're dealing on a global level, you know, you're going to come at things that I don't even have to deal with. So, you know, again, brother, I have much respect for you. I'm always here for you. You know that, whatever I can do. And unfortunately, our people don't recognize you for who you really are. And other brothers that have been given to us with the Nibiru spirit. But we're in a warfare for our children, man. A lot of these people from the age of 40 on up, they love this wickedness too much, man. And I'm not trying to present myself. I have my vices, okay?
We understand.
What I'm saying is,
right.
What I'm saying is I'm dealing with truth. And ultimately, This is what is going to make or break our people. I don't care what you do outside of whatever. That ain't for me to worry about.
Right.
But we have to be on code and go on the offensive like you do every day, brother. Or we're going to get snowed under. Because they don't allow you to teach this in their institutions. They have blocked our children from learning truth. Right. Oh, I sent you from one of the African diaspora channel that I listen to sometimes just to keep up with global news.
Right.
And news from here. You saw that where the young white girl said that she was sickened. She was in shock.
Yeah.
When she learned what white people did to us. Mm-hmm. A lot of them don't, seriously, a lot of them don't know because we don't talk about it. And it's, whew.
They feel
anyway, brother, peace and love. And I'll stay in touch with you during the week and, follow up with some of the things you're doing. And stay strong, brother.
Thank you, brother. And let me know when you're ready for the next show. I'm right here for you.
Okay, I will.
Okay. Thank you, brother.
All right, peace.
I take pack to the lung, kill the stress to the head. I'm trying to do more for the soul, way less for the bread. Yes, sir. I take pack to the lung, kill the stress to the head. I see the things that they do way less than they said. Cause it's a war on the real, baby, look outside. A war on the real, baby, look out. Cause it's a war on the real, baby, look outside. A war on the real, baby, look out. Cause it's a war on the real, baby, look outside. A war on the real, baby, look out. Cause it's a war on the real, baby, look outside. A war on the real, baby, look out. Can't be a real, might get you canceled. The whole system need to dismantle. Coppers treated like the utmost wanted. Trying to rule the block but don't know what goes on it. News got a story with a new take on me. Carrying out the window with the screw face on me. But I know that God love me when my burn 95 degrees and I can't get sunburn. Wonder when your government don't make me legal. Burn the whole city if I can't be equal. Get off my please, Brad, I earn that. 400 years, how you still ain't learned? I take pack to the lung, kill the stress to the head. I'm trying to do more for the soul, way less for the bread. Yes, sir. I take pack to the lung, kill the stress to the head. I see the things that they do way less than they said. Cause it's a war on the real, baby, look outside. A war on the real, baby, look out. Cause it's a war on the real, baby, look outside. A war on the real, baby, look out. Cause it's a war on the real, baby, look outside. A war on the real, baby, look out. Cause it's a war on the real, baby, look outside. A war on the real, baby, look out. Shout out to the trying to gentrify the genre. Tell them free my middle finger to your honor. End of days coming down to seconds on the timer. Goofy still trying to purchase that designer. About to buy, learn to grow my own food. Cause I don't like the look they give me in the Whole Foods. And when you stay ready, you ain't gotta get ready. But it ain't on me now, I'm limping cause my heavy. But ain't sweet, think we thin. My whole attitude on MC Ren. It's my neighborhood now, Bob, I bought that. 400 years, how you still ain't caught that? I take pack to the lung, kill the stress to the head. I'm trying to do more for the soul, way less for the bread. Yes, sir. I take pack to the lung, kill the stress to the head. I see the things that they do way less than they said. Cause it's a war on the real, baby, look outside. A war on the real, baby, look out. Cause it's a war on the real, baby, look outside. A war on the real, baby, look out. Cause it's a war on the real, baby, look outside. A war on the real, baby, look out. Cause it's a war on the real, baby, look outside. A war on the real, baby, look out.
Take it away, feeling too good to me. Chilling all day, all in your space is where I wanna be. Here in this room, what did you do? I just can't get enough. Too caught up in your love. I've been trying to forget, but you won't let me. Something in my brain wants you. I've been hanging by myself, asking for help, but nothing seems to work on you. Yeah, you always make me feel like home. Yeah, you never leave my thoughts alone. Yeah, you're the reason I'm going out my mind. I just can't stop thinking about you. All that I crave when you're away, nights are sleepless. Do we need space? Yeah, maybe a break. Boy, you're my weakness. Give and we take, the love that we make, it's my favorite drug. Too caught up in your love. I've been trying to forget, but you won't let me. Something in my brain wants you. I've been hanging by myself, asking for help, but nothing seems to work on you. Yeah, you always make me feel like home. Yeah, you never leave my thoughts alone. Yeah, you're the reason I'm going out my mind. I just can't stop thinking about